And now, let us prepare our hearts and minds for a time of meditation.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, then I go inside and I quiet my mind. I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
Taking in a deep breath now, a deep, deep breath, and holding it for as long as you'd like to hold it. And then when you're ready, just slowly release it. Slowly release it and let it out. Let it out and begin settling yourself into this time of prayer and this time of meditation, this time of love. Breathing in, breathing out. Beginning to relax the body, beginning to relax the mind, beginning to open the heart. Love. This morning, I invite you to join me in not only our meditation, but our opening prayer as we focus on love. That we focus on love in our human experience. We focus on love on our planet. We focus on love, the divine harmonizing power of love. And our prayer this morning is that we be the love that we truly are, and that we radiate that love out into the rest of this human experience, out into the universe. So I invite you, as you focus on breathing in, breathing out, to take in one more deep breath and hold it for a moment. And then slowly, slowly exhale and relax the fingers, relax the toes, Drop the belly, drop the shoulders. Allow the jaw to relax. Allow the mouth and the eyes to relax. Allow yourself to relax and to settle in and to settle into love. Love. I open my heart. I open my mind. I open every cell of my body to love, to the harmony that is the truth. I am in harmony. I am filled with the gift of divine love. Divine love flows through me now. Every breath that I breathe, every thought that I think, every movement that I make, I see wrapped in love, wrapped in divine love. Breathing in and breathing out now, relaxing even more, relaxing the muscles in my chest and relaxing the muscles in my belly and in my back. And taking in a breath right directly into my heart and holding it there for a moment and allowing the heart to open even more than it might be already. And as I exhale, the heart just opens wide. My heart is open. My heart is receptive. My heart is filled with love. My heart is filled with love. I allow myself to be overflowing with divine love. Who have every cell in my body begin to tingle with divine love, to know that divine love and I are one. I am one with divine love. And that through the Christ within, you and I and every one of us are connected through divine love. Breathing in, breathing out. The mind clears. The mind clears and love is there. The body rests and love is there. Love. We settle into a quiet time now. We settle into a quiet time of prayer, a quiet time of meditation, a quiet time of sitting in the midst of love. 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 breathing in and breathing out, breathing in and breathing out, and staying here for a moment longer, staying here in the midst of love, in the midst of harmony, every cell of my body tingling with love, every thought in my mind filled with love, every breath that I take, breathing in love, breathing out love. My heart is open, filled with love. I bring that love with me back to this human experience. I bring love with me through every thought that I think today, every move that I make, every breath that I take. Thank you, God, for love. Thank you, God, for this human experience. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
Thoughts are ever present in my head. Some drift in and some drift out. For some I'll make a bed. Always moving, changing, pulsing, calling in my mind. Still thoughts are only thoughts until I choose to call them mine. Thoughts can bring emotions like worry, fear, or joy. Feelings that can guide us, or feelings that can destroy. Emotions are a frequency, we have them every day. Still, emotions are just energy until a sound is made. Intention is the magic key that brings a sound to life. Embedded in the things we say can carry love or light. And just before a sound is made, intention has its start, and it travels on the waves of sound to reach another's heart. Thoughts are only thoughts, though emotions give them strength. Then intent is given wings of flight in the very sounds we make. It's carried on the waves of sound. It reaches far and wide, and it rests upon the thoughts who hear those emotions through our time.
Thank you, David Trolley. An original song by our own David Trolley. Thank you for bringing that to us this morning. Thoughts, emotions, energy. It's all around us. How we speak and how we listen. It reveals more about us than we often realize. This week, we explore compassionate communication as a spiritual practice, a spiritual practice that brings authenticity into our relationships. What we share, what we bring, what we take, and bring forth and give energy, talk energy, energy with our throat, the center of power, what we give out. We bring our thoughts and our emotions, and then we put it out to others. It's often we don't even realize that it's happening. We do it so naturally. We're not even aware that it has great effect on who we are, what our relationships are about, and how we're moving through them. Drawing from the book Living Originally and from our theme Living Authentically, the message today about compassionate communication invites us to look beyond words and into the intention. Into the intention, as David said in his song, the presence and the awareness behind those words. Not so much about the words, but about what's going on inside and what are we trying to say? What do we mean to say? How do we communicate it? And what's going on with whoever we're trying to communicate with that in the midst of our common humanity, we all have things going on. And we're not always really aware of them and how the words we use affects the human experience. So today, let's take a look at how compassionate communication begins within, how it strengthens connection without sacrificing truth, and how aligning our words with our values allows us to live more fully and authentically in the world. So this morning, I was on the phone talking with someone, and I was telling him about my talk title today. And we got into talking about the importance of listening when it comes to compassionate communication. And he said to me, well, I've realized that I'm actually very good at listening. I don't like to do it while other people are talking because while they're speaking, I'm really doing important things and not listening. I'm doing things like preparing my response and I'm correcting their facts and I'm replaying the part where they were clearly wrong. And so technically, really, I'm not listening. He said I'm auditioning. I'm auditioning. Uh, and isn't that what a lot of us do? Emily, I see you laughing. You know what I'm talking about. Thank you. Yes. Isn't that how a lot of us go through communicating? We're not really listening. We're not really present. We're not really aware. We're auditioning. We're thinking about what we're going to say next. We're thinking about what we had for breakfast in the morning. We're thinking about what we're going to do after we're done having this conversation. And so what we say and what we hear are very important in compassionate communication. And this follows right along in our study of Brummett's book Living Originally. We talk about transformation and how we can transform and what a wonderful season being in Lent that it is for transformation, that we have an opportunity to now let go of old thoughts, old ways of doing things, thoughts and things that do no longer serve us, that are not, maybe we're who we were, but probably aren't who we're becoming. And so we have an opportunity to transform during this period of Lent. We always have an opportunity to transform. And we've talked about self-awareness, radical self-awareness, really taking a look at yourself and becoming aware of who you really are, becoming aware of the way you present yourself, the way you see yourself, just becoming really aware, and then moving into moving into self-awareness of or self-acceptance, really stopping and saying, okay, this is what I'm aware of, and it's what's going on in me, with me. I am all about that. Let me accept that. Let me accept it and say, yes, that is what I'm putting out there. And it's good. It's okay. No, nothing wrong with it, nothing bad. Everything about me is good. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to fix any of that. I need to be aware of it. I need to accept it and then decide what I want to do with it. And as we do that, we probably have some things we want to forgive, others and ourselves. And so we discuss the practice of forgiveness and the fact that forgiveness helps dissolve the ego's grip on hurt and identity. That without forgiveness, we are bound to our pain stories, that we hold on to it, and forgiveness allows then transformation to take root. And then the last time we talked about our process, we talked about benevolence and the spiritual practice of extending goodwill beyond preference, beyond agreement, beyond familiarity. In other words, extending goodwill, extending love to everyone and everything, no matter who they are or what they are or where they are. Extending that love that we've opened our heart up to. And now today, once we've done all that, we're ready to think about compassionate communication. And you can see, for me, I can see why you have to move through all those other steps when till you're ready to start to practice compassionate communication, because it's a hard one. I struggle with it. I mean, I've always struggled with it. We took classes in seminary about it. I've taken Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication. I've done all kind of things with it, and it takes practice on a moment by moment basis. How we speak and how we listen reveals not just what we think, but who we are being. Compassionate communication is a spiritual practice that invites us to become conscious, conscious of presence, conscious of intention, and of power, of power. And I remind you about the power of powers. When we talk about the 12 powers, where is that power of power located? Charles Fillmore tells us that it's located in the throat. It's in that throat chakra. It's right there. Linda Martello Witches, she's going to love that. Linda Martello Whitsett teaches that the power of power is the spiritual capacity to be authentically empowered, to speak truth, exercise self-mastery, focus intention on what is good and true, and to serve others and life's greater purposes rather than exert control over them. And a lot of communication is about power. Matter of fact, almost all of it is. Letting go of power, releasing power, taking control, or being confused about it all and not knowing what you're saying or doing or listening to. You know, there was a manager who once told an employee, "I'm just being honest." The words themselves weren't cruel. They were direct, clear, even technically accurate. "I'm just being honest." But the employee felt small afterwards. The employee felt diminished. The employee felt shut down. Later, someone asked the manager, "Do you think that you needed to say it that way?" And the manager replied, "Well, I have the authority. That's my job." And in that moment, it became clear what had happened. The manager wasn't using honesty to create clarity. They were using power to end the conversation. You say that one more time. The manager wasn't using honesty to create clarity. He or she was using power to end the conversation. Compassionate communication doesn't weaken truth. It asks us to notice how our authority, how our certainty, and how our emotional intensity enters the room. The question isn't, was I right? The question is, did my words create understanding or compliance? Compassionate communication involves presence. Compassionate communication flows from awareness, not from technique. It's not a technique that you learn. I can take all those courses for ad nauseum, but until I become totally present, until I become aware, until I focus on being present as many moments of this human experience that I can, I, I I really can't listen authentically and then communicate authentically. It takes that being present. It's not about saying the right thing. It's about being grounded when we speak and available when we listen. Compassionate communication honors both truth and relationships. Wholeness requires consciousness, not perfection. Oh, so you can't, we're not saying that, all right, I am listening 100% of the time, authentically listening, and I am compassionately communicating 100% of the time. That's not what wholeness is about. It's about being aware of this and being willing to look at it and being willing to make it a spiritual practice. It's not about perfection, because that's not what we're about. We're not about perfection. We're about surviving this human experience the very best we can with the least amount of suffering that we can. And in the midst of relationships, we experience that all the time. And it's most always about the way we communicate. Why does communication break down? Well, it rarely breaks down because of vocabulary. When it breaks down, it's usually because of fear, because of defensiveness, because of the need to be right, the need to protect identity. When we speak from reaction, there's that word again, isn't it? Reaction. When we do anything from reaction, rather than pausing for a moment and taking a breath and then doing from an authentic, doing it from heart. When we speak from reaction, our words may be accurate, but they are rarely healing. Authentic living asks, am I speaking to connect or am I speaking to control? And then there's that hidden role of power that we spoke about at the beginning. The power of power, there's so much power in the words that we speak, so much power that we don't even realize it. There's so much power that we think we have it down pat and we don't yet. That it takes continuous spiritual practice. Every conversation includes power dynamics, whether we acknowledge them or not. Power shows up through authority, through role. What's our role? What role are we playing in what that relationship? What role do we see ourselves in? What role does the person or people we're communicating with see ourselves in? Volume. Being an animated Italian man, my volume can go up and down, and look, there goes my hands, and talk about power in communication. And, I mean, who knows how that's perceived and who knows what I'm thinking. And here I am being a loving Italian man that's animated, and it looks like I'm doing just the opposite sometimes, and a lot of that has to do with the volume that you use, that I use. And then there's certainty, the certainty with which we say it. How certain are we about what we're saying? And how certain is how certain are we of what we're hearing when we're listening? Certainty. Oh, emotional intensity. Well, there's emotion behind communication. There's always emotion behind power. So what's the emotion that we're bringing into that communication? And at what intensity level, at what level are we bringing it into it? And then there's silence. Well, there's that paradox again. Silence can either be, I don't want to say good or bad, but it can either be help or not a help. Silence sometimes is the only thing that's appropriate. And then there's other times that silence says a plethora of things that we don't even know silence is saying. Much unskillful communication is not about truth, it's about unconscious power. So when power is unconscious, it becomes coercive. When power is conscious, it becomes creative. Unconscious, coercive, conscious, creative. We often use power in communication to defend ourselves, to dominate the conversation, to win an argument, to shut others down. Compassionate communication then asks a deeper question. How am I using my power right now? Power aligned with compassion does not diminish truth. It strengthens trust. Power aligned with compassion. Why are we talking about self-awareness and self-acceptance and forgiveness? And where does compassion fit into all that? It's in every step of it. And benevolence is filled with compassion. So we continue. Last year, we talked a lot about mindful self-compassion and the importance of being self-compassionate and the importance of being compassionate with others. But remember, we said it's very difficult to give compassion, to know how to give compassion out into the world and to others, unless we know how to be compassionate with ourselves. And that compassion and communication does ask that question: how am I using my power right now? And once we realize that if it's not the way we want to be doing it, or if it's not how we thought we were doing it, then we have to be compassionate with ourselves about that. And when we explain that to others, when we listen to others and others listen to us, we have to be compassionate in the midst of all that. That compassion is really what helps us bring all of these steps together. Power aligned with compassion does not diminish truth, it strengthens trust. So compassionate communication does not mean avoiding difficult conversations. And that's a good one, because who wants to have a difficult conversation? And we're afraid to have it, that we won't have it compassionately, because we've got stories going about it, don't we? We've got stories going on. We've already created stories about what that compassion or what that communication is going to look like. And we've already said it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard. I'm going to feel this emotion, I'm going to feel that emotion. And so we avoid that conversation. I usually avoid it until I sit down, have a good prayer about it, release and reimagine it, and then realize everything that I've been reading into it. And that doesn't always happen right away. It can take minutes or hours or days or a lifetime, depending on the situation. Compassionate communication then does not mean avoiding difficult conversations. It means speaking truth. Speaking truth without contempt, speaking truth without superiority, speaking truth without spiritual authority as a weapon. We see that happening a lot in the world today, don't we? Using spiritual authority as a weapon. We see it happen in the Christian nationalist movement. They're speaking authority as a weapon. They're saying, this is what God said. We have to do it this way. We have the only right way. That's using spiritual authority as a weapon, and they're communicating it. Truth spoken without compassion becomes force. Compassion without truth becomes avoidance. Wholeness then holds both truth and care. Remember, wholeness is not about separation, about separating any part of us from the other. Wholeness is about integration. Lastly, and this is important, how we speak to others reflects how we speak to ourselves. How we speak to others reflects how we speak to ourselves. Inner criticism often turns into outer control. When we lack self-acceptance, we unconsciously use power to manage discomfort. Deep self-acceptance softens our need to overpower. We cannot communicate compassionately when we are at war with ourselves. Oh, it's Lent. We're releasing and we're reimagining. And what a perfect time to release anything you're beating yourself up about the way you compassionately or not compassionately communicate. We need to release that. We need to say, it's okay. I'll start over. I'll start fresh. I'm going to compassionately communicate from this moment forward. Good luck. So bring spiritual practice, bring self-acceptance, and then reimagine, continuously reimagine a world filled with love. Thank you. See you next week with Ken Daigle. Come in here, Ken Daigle. It's going to be a fabulous service. He's got his new book out. It's in the e-news. I think you're going to really enjoy him. He'll be in the chat afterwards. And I want to tell you, too, while I have the opportunity, next week we're having guests come. A Canadian church, Jane Simmons is the minister of record for them. I'm having trouble remembering the name right now, but they're around Ontario, Phil and Margaret, and 6 of them are going to be joining us. They want to see how we do spiritual community because they're interested in recreating it. So we'll invite them to join us next week. And